are going to discuss how it really affects your brain and your body, and just the how it affects your health in general. Because alcohol, yes, we looked at the history and all of that yesterday or in our last episode, but today we're going to look at how it affects you. And alcohol, as we said yesterday, is derived from the word alkhul, and it's an Arabic word which means body eating spirit. And who would want to drink anything that has that meaning behind it, body eating spirit? So today we are going to do the part 2, the continuation on alcohol. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it yesterday as well, or the last episode as well, but alcohol is derived, it contains ethanol. And ethanol it gets the word ethanol from ethyl. And that means spirit as well. So, I told y'all like yesterday that I used to hear my gran calling alcohol spirits all the time, but I never knew. Boy, she did. But now I know. And I'm so glad that I did this research on this, because it has opened my eyes to a lot of things as well. Because as I was saying yesterday, I'm so glad that I was taken out of that over 20 years ago, because if I wasn't, I don't know where it would be today. I obviously wouldn't be here speaking to y'all right now. But for those of you that are here for the first time, welcome. And for those of you that are returning, thank you so much for stopping back. And I always enjoy hearing from you. I always enjoy the comments. My channel is very small, but we're going to build this channel shortly. We're going to build this channel because I have some great things in store for you in the future. And my name is Annette. I am Annette, and AKA Annie, they call me. That's where the Sweet Annies came from. Now, that name was given to me over 12 years ago while living in St. Lucia and wanting to come back home to Barbados to open up a business. I wanted to know what to call it, and that name was given to me. So I am going to be going through like a lot of the ways now that alcohol affects our body. And between that, I will probably be sharing little testimonies, because I normally like to share little testimonies to show people that, I'm not new to this sort of thing. I'm a person that used to drink alcohol for a number of years. And now I do not even take medication. I do not drink alcohol unless it is in the medication that I make, because I do herbalism and I make tinctures and all of that. And the alcohol that I use is like very, very little. And I am hoping to be able to help people out there to understand certain things, because I had no one to help me understand anything when I was coming up in years because my mom died pretty young. And the reason I'm doing this is because she died pretty young of alcohol consumption, and it affected her liver, and she was retaining fluid. But anyway, we will probably go into a little bit more about that later on. So, for those of you out there that might be doing the same thing and feeling the same way that I feel, because I feel that if I knew this information, or if my mom knew this information earlier, she probably would not have been gone today. But if her time was due, her time was due. But sometimes I do believe that people die prematurely. And so alcohol is alcohol is not a very nice thing to consume. And I know that sometimes we think that alcohol makes us more relaxed, or we feel more relaxed when we drink alcohol. But the thing about it is that when you get up in the morning, the problem is still there, but you have a serious hangover, a serious headache, and it causes serious dehydration. I remember when I used to drink, there was somebody that told me, if you don't want to get a hangover in the morning, drink tons of water before you go to bed. But sometimes when we drink and we come home, the last thing we are studying is drinking water. We just want to get in our bed and get some sleep. So I just wanna lift all of y'all up right now, and I pray that the favor of Yah be on all of your lives, because I told y'all in my last episode that the reason I'm gonna be using my name a little bit more is because I realize, my name is one of the meanings of my name is graceful and favor. And what I do want is the favor of Yah upon my life, and to open up myself to all the good energy and everything that I can acquire, so to speak. I know there are a lot of people that like to hop straight into topics and all of that, but this channel, I want it to be slightly different, because I want it to be as though we are chatting, because after all, this channel is Tea Talk with Annie. Today, I do not have any tea. I have my juice today. I did some pineapple juice today, and this pineapple juice is done with the skins as well, and it contains clove, spice, and some ginger. So I think that is going to be some goodness, and I like to make my pineapple juice periodically, rather than buy it. I make all my juices, and as you can see, I am using a straw. I like to use straws when I'm drinking my juices, because it stops the coldness from going directly to my teeth. And that is good. Once again, last time we just had some clove tea, and today we have some juice. So once again, welcome Welcome to Tea Talk with Addie. And we are going to be discussing how alcohol affects your brain, affects your body in general. All right. Um, First of all, before we start, one of the ways that it affects us is that it breaks down our immune system. And if you would notice from my other channel, I talk a bit about our immune system, and it breaks down our immune system, and it can cause heart attacks, strokes. Anyway, I'm going to go into all those things, but it just affects your heart in general. And for those of you that are with me on my next channel as well, know that I talk to y'all about cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is very good for the heart. It is a good heart health medicine. And if we could get that in our diet every day, that would be great for us. So, before we go any further, I just want to let you know that if you haven't subscribed to this channel, you can do so now, because last time I didn't tell y'all till the end, and I don't know if people are going to make it till the end. So, all right. So, let's get started. All right. So, alcohol affects the brain by interfering with the communication pathways, impacting neurotransmitters and potentially causing long-term damage like memory loss, cognitive impairment, especially with the heavy or chronic use. All right, so let's look at the neurotransmitter disruptions. Alcohol disrupts the balance of the neurotransmitters like GABA and glutamate, which is crucial for the brain function. GABA, alcohol increases the effect of GABA, a neurotransmitter that calms the brain. So that is what GABA is a neurotransmitter that just calms down the brain, leading to initial relaxation and reduce anxiety. Now, the glutamate is what the alcohol decreases the effect of glutamate, a neurotransmitter that stimulates the brain, right? It stimulates the brain, leading to reduce alertness and potentially impaired cognitive function. So that is, how it affects the neurotransmitters, which is the GABA and the glutamate. And let's look at brain damage now. Long-term use of alcohol causes brain shrinkage, reduces the oxygen that reaches the brain. And when the oxygen doesn't reach your brain, what happens? And alcohol is also a potion, and it contains ethanol, which I said earlier. It is damage to the brain regions, alcohol-related brain damage. All right, let's look at brain shrinkage. So brain shrinkage is alcohol can cause the brain cells to die and the brain tissues to shrink, impacting the memory, the decision making, and other cognitive functions. Damage to the specific regions of the brain. Alcohol can damage areas involved in the memory, like hippocampus, emotional regulations, and motor control. And hence that's why basically when people are suffering from alcohol damage, the limbs don't work the way how they should because that part of the brain is being affected. Cognitive impairment. All right. And this video is not going to be as long as the previous one because the previous one was pretty long and this one is not going to be as long. Alcohol can impair cognitive functions, which include memory problems, impaired judgment and decision making, slow thinking and reaction time. So let's look at the memory problems. It interferes with the memory formation and recall, leading to blackouts, which is what we spoke of earlier. It leads to blackouts and difficulty remembering events, which we spoke of because we spoke of alcohol causing us to forget what we did and what we didn't do. So it interferes with the memory formation that way. Impaired judgment and decision making. It can impair the prefrontal cortex, which is the area responsible for executive functions like planning and decision making, leading to poor choices and impulsive behavior. Okay. It's slow thinking and reaction time. Now you can research this yourself because all of this information basically is all the information that I would have shared with you is basically on Google, is all over. So alcohol slows down the central nervous system, affecting thinking, speaking, and motor skills. And when I see these things, why would anyone want to continue to drink alcohol that way? Because what I mentioned to y'all in my previous video is that I come from basically a family of alcoholics. My she didn't drink alcohol really, only socially, very, very, very socially. But my mom, because of a lot of things that she'd been through and a lot of everything, she drank and she hid and drank. So she was drinking. I've never once though seen my mother drunk. Never once. She would just lay down and sleep. But she didn't go anywhere to go out and drink. She wasn't that type of drinker. She was like a loner drinker, if there's one of those things. I don't even know. but she was a loner drinker. And a lot of people say that those people that like to drink alone and stuff like that, they're the ones that are more susceptible to being alcoholics. So I am not sure how much years she was drinking, because we found the bottles, the empty bottles and stuff like that in her drawer, in her clothes drawers, like a little while before she actually died. But I want to spare, because it's not a good thing, especially when your mom is a single parent. Because when you have a mom that is a single parent, yeah, I know there's some moms out there that make poor choices and their children don't like them at all and all kinds of stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you still only have one mom. And regardless what you think she was and the type of person you think she was, you still you still only have one mom at the end of the day. And you were attached to her by the umbilical cord. So when she's gone, naturally you would feel it. You might hate her when she's alive, but when she's gone, you're gonna feel it. So the point I'm making is that I'm sharing this personal information. I'm sharing this personal information with all of you out there, because I'm letting y'all know that although I take this information from the internet, I've lived it as well. Right? I've lived it as well, because I have an uncle. I have two uncles then that used to drink. My dad used to drink. Although he wasn't in my life, I don't know if the alcohol killed him as well, but I had uncles that used to drink. One of them actually said that the doctor had stopped him from drinking, and he didn't stop. I don't know if he stopped for maybe a month or two, but he didn't stop and he died. And my other uncle that used to drink, he died from the effects of drinking alcohol. And that is one of the things that I mentioned in my first section, that it causes, or if I didn't mention it, but it causes cancer. Because what alcohol does is alcohol, and it causes not only cancer, but it causes diabetes. Because alcohol, things that people don't realize, alcohol is loaded with sugar. And when you use that in excess, you're constantly putting the starches and the sugar and things like that in your body, and it can't break down as fast as it should. And what happens is that one thing I realize with people that drink, they start to put on weight. They start to get really, really big and put on weight. And then within a couple of years, they start to just shrink. They start to just get small. And that's when the different ailments and the cancers and all the different things affect your body. And as I said, my mother was retaining fluid. People are saying that ovarian cysts on her liver ruptured. Yeah, but what caused it to rupture? If it was an ovarian cyst on the liver, what caused it to rupture? I do believe that maybe she had cirrhosis of the liver. And why I believe that she has cirrhosis of the liver is because a woman's liver is not as sturdy as a man's liver. So what happens is that the alcohol, when you drink the alcohol, it affects the woman's liver more or quicker than it would affect a man's liver. So man takes longer to come down with cirrhosis than a woman. And this this is what happens in a lot of cases. So let's continue, right? And well, we were talking about the liver. So long-term use of alcohol on the liver, you can get a fatty liver, and nobody wants a fatty liver. And that's why I tell you, because it's so mixed with the sugars and everything. That's how it affects your liver. The liver expands, get very fatty, and then it causes alcoholic hepatitis. And scarring of the liver, which is the cirrhosis. So I am beginning to wonder if they thought that my mom had a cyst on the liver, but really and truthfully, it really was a cyst, but it might have been the cirrhosis of the liver scarring, because that's what cirrhosis is. And let's look at how it affects us, our mental health. All right. So our mental health, it causes depression and anxiety. Because what it does is, if you suffer with depression, what alcohol does is it gives you that false high, but then your depression becomes worse, and it causes the anxiety and depression that way. And then you get mood swings and irritability. And I know, because I was married, and I said this in part one as well. I was married to people that used to drink, and whenever they drank, it was like the demons used to come out. And that's why they call it spirits, because, as I told you earlier, it's called body eating spirits. And it is eating up our bodies because it is destroying our health. But yet there's spirits that are coming into our bodies, because alcohol is a portal, which things come into our bodies. So it causes those mood swings, and when it causes the mood swings, a lot of times people do things that they don't remember. And when my ex-husbands had abused me and stuff like that, and I mention it, or they wondering what happened, like when my ex-husband had pulled a knife out of my hand and sliced my hand, like, give me 11 stitches. It's like he didn't even know what he did, and then wanted to take me to the hospital. And I told him, no, I'm going to get my, I told him, no, I'm going to get my family to take me to the hospital. It's like he didn't even it's like he didn't even know what he did. So I I know that's what alcohol does. It causes demonic activities. It causes spirits to enter our bodies, because that's why the Arabs talk about the jinns and all of those things. Because and if you do research, and you do, because all of those things are to come again on voodoo and all those different things, you would see how demonic activity works. You will see that we are not in this world alone. There was there was years ago, and I have been trying constantly to remember the name of this, because I'm not good in time in things like that. And I've been trying to remember the name of this movie, but it was showing you things in the spiritual world and what is happening in the spiritual world. Because it was like a man and a woman, they're married and things like that, and she got pregnant, and the basically the demonic world wanted the baby, and the world of the light, the angels that guards us every day, mind you, they were trying to protect the baby. So they were showing the real world, but still they were showing the demonic world, and the battle that goes on that we can't see, because the real world, the people in the real world was not seeing what was going on, but they were showing the spiritual world and what is going on in the spiritual world, and the fight that our guardian angels have to fight for us, and constantly be fighting for us. It's just like in Daniel, when Daniel was praying for 21 days, and the angel Gabriel then came and said to him, "We heard your prayer, but we were obstructed by the prince of Persia and different things." But then he had to even get help from other angels, so to bring the prayer to Daniel. So the point I'm making is, what point am I making? I don't even remember. I just went on a tantrum because I thought it was so exciting, that topic. Anyway, the point that I am making is how it affects us. And even in the movie, they were showing how the demonic side was whispering things in the man's ear, the husband's ear. This is the movie still. Whispering things in the husband's ear, and those things that he was whispering in the husband's ear, then the husband was getting all angry and aggressive and everything with the wife that was pregnant, when she wasn't even doing anything. It was just his own mind that was being corrupted by things. So I know that we're talking about alcohol, but that is how the demonic realm works. And alcohol affects us that way, because it stops all of our cognitive function from functioning the way how they think. Because one thing I heard somebody said a long time ago is that, I can't remember if it was my grand or who, but I can't remember. But they said that when you drink alcohol, a lot of things that what comes out is your subconscious, things that are in your subconscious and not your conscious mind. So you're not acting on your conscious mind anymore. And that's why a lot of times you drink alcohol, you fall asleep. And as I said, the mood swings and all kinds of stuff like that. So let's look at the other one. And right, you get hallucinations and psychosis, basically. And this is so true. You get hallucinations when you drink, just like if you were taking a drug. Because one thing I said in the first part of this is that alcohol is the worst drug of all. And that is the one that they legalize. And they legalize that one for control. Because when you get people's spirit and energy and essence and everything dumbed down, you can control the masses better. But the good thing about it now is that we're waking up. We're waking up. I started to wake up because being dumbed down for over 30 years in religion, I started to wake up about 8 years ago. And I'm still waking up because I'm still learning things every day and realizing how much they've lied to us. And we're going to go through some of those things. And I know that a lot of times people think, okay, conspiracy theories, but it's not that you are that at all. It's just that you're waking up. You're coming out of the matrix. You don't want to be a wanderer on the earth anymore. You want to wake up to do what the Most High wants you to do. And let's look at basically the definitions of hallucination and psychosis. Well, not the definition really, but like what else happened, because you start to get really paranoid, and that is from heavy consumption. It makes you hallucinate. It may give you paranoia. And I have a book. On deliverance and all of that there. And those things are spirits, and you need deliverance from those things. All right, let's look at other effects. Reduces the ability to absorb nutrients. And alcohol can interfere with the absorption of essential nutrients like thiamine and magnesium. And that's true because magnesium is a thing that when you are going through your menopause, those things do not stay in your body anyway. And these things are which are important for the brain function. So magnesium is important for the brain. Thiamine is important for the brain. And that is why a lot of times we cannot remember stuff when we drink, because, the alcohol or the spirits behind the alcohol stops those things. The spirits behind the alcohol stops those things. And it increased the risk of falls and accidents. Because one thing you shouldn't do when you've been drinking and that is to drive. And that is something that I have been guilty of. And thank goodness that the Heavenly Father sent His angels to protect me and to guide me and to watch over me during those times, because He knew the job He had for me. But I am not advising anybody to drink and drive, because it is very, very dangerous. You could kill yourself or you could kill someone else, because you hear how it affects the brain. So it's not to say, oh man, I good, because you hear people say, good man, I good. I awesome, I in control. But no, when you are under the influence of alcohol, you are not in control. The spirits behind it is who is in control. And that's why you were gonna say, like Kelly Clarkson, it was no, not Kelly Clarkson, something on the wood, something. She said, y'all said Jesus take the wheel, but I say Yahusha, I will say Yahusha take the wheel. But you don't want to have to say that, because you should not drink and drive. Okay, and it causes accidents, injuries, which is what I just said. It increased the risks of dementia. And you know why it increased the risk of dementia? Because of the effects that it is doing constantly on your brain. Because we talked earlier about how it affects the brain and all that there. Long-term heavy drinking is associated with an increased risk of dementia. And that is when you're losing your memory, you're losing your thing of your cognitive sense, and you don't even know where you are, you don't even recognize people, you don't take. And truthfully speaking, for me, once again, Yahuwah, I thank you for stopping me from drinking, because I never want to put anything like that upon my children. Okay, alcohol opens us up to evil entities because it is a portal, which is what I said. It keeps you in a low frequency. So your frequency would always be low. And if you want to build up that frequency, you have to get away from the alcohol. Alcohol interferes with the brain communication pathways and can affect the way the brain looks and works. Alcohol makes it harder for the brain areas to control balance, memory, speech, judgment to do their jobs, resulting in the higher likelihood of injuries and other negative outcomes. So we talked about how it affects the liver, we talked about how it affects the heart, and how it weakens the immune system, and how it you're at increased risk of certain cancers, as well as affecting the mental health and the cognitive function. And I know there are a lot of people in Barbados, where I live, that end up where I used to live, that end up in the mental institution from drinking alcohol. There's some young guys that get alcohol poisoning. When you get alcohol poisoning, you throwing up, you throwing up, you throwing up. You have to be admitted to the hospital so that you could get drips and all of that there, because what it causes is serious dehydration and things like that. So chronic consumption of alcohol can lead to inflammation of the brain, in the brain. So I think the inflammation of the brain is what causes all the other things to happen. It induces a low energy state. It will create direct discord between your spiritual and your physical body. And that is similar to the story I was telling earlier, because it causes confusion between your spiritual and your physical body. It opens the door to negative influences like violence, casual sex, and a lot more. And we know how that can happen, because casual sex sometimes with people that you don't even really know. And one thing I'm going to share with you is that you have to be careful with that, because when you have sexual encounters like that with people that you don't even know, every person that person had a sexual encounter with, you also had a sexual encounter with. So whatever spirits they are suffering with, you in turn is going to be suffering with as well, because what spirits does is that they latch themselves onto, they can jump from host to host to host, because what spirits needs, they're like parasites. And what spirits needs, they need a body, they need a host. So they can only be in dry places for a very, very short time. They can't be in dry places too long, because what spirits also like is water and our bodies. And that's why the marine kingdom and knowing the marine kingdom is so important, because it is a marine kingdom. And our bodies are 75% water. So that's why they are so comfortable living in our bodies. And what happens is that they live dormant. They live dormant for a little bit. And then when something happens to cause them to come to the surface, then they will come to the surface. But you can have thousands and thousands of spirits living inside of you and don't even know, until something happens and they raise their little wicked heads out. So that's why deliverance is very important. But not only deliverance is important of casting out these demonic activities, but also keeping the house clean, because the Bible tells you about keeping the house clean after you cast these things out. So it's very, very important to do all of these different things. Now, for those of you that know, it causes hangovers, serious hangovers. And what causes the hangover is dehydration. Dehydration. And with the dehydration comes headaches. And I mean, drinking hangovers is the worst feeling that you could feel. And if you have to go to work the next day, trust me, you're not going to have a good day. We're coming down to the final. This is the final thing we're coming down. It basically cause your bank account to be shot. And when I say shot, I mean it drains your bank account. And the reason it drains your bank account, this is what I used to tell people, because that's why I don't really do my nails and I don't smoke and I don't do these things, because I think that those things need support. And if I'm struggling to pay my bills, I don't want to have to take out some of my bill money or my rent money or something like that to buy these things because I'm addicted. You get what I'm saying? Because I can't do without having a drink. Oh, I need to have a drink. No. I I don't, and for that reason too, I don't drink coffee, because years ago I saw how the coffee affected my son, and I say, you know what? Mm-mm. Because he tried to come off of the coffee, and he got all kinds of headaches, and he was irritable. He was all kinds of things. I said, that got to be a drug. So I don't drink that either. That's why you always see my things are in the form of tea talks, because that's what I drink. I drink tea, and it can ruin your career. And how it can ruin your career is that you go to work drunk, just like what we said earlier. You can't think straight. Your cognitive mind is not very good, and you basically you start making a lot of mistakes, and because you can't concentrate, and you might fall asleep on the job. It's so much things that could happen. So it basically, drinking alcohol basically ruins your career, and it have the potential to ruin friendships, because when you have friends that don't drink or whatever, and you start drinking too much and different things like that, and you go out and you behaving bad, and you embarrassing them, and you want to dance and take your clothes off, and you want to do all kinds of things, they don't want to hang out with you anymore. They don't want to be around you anymore, because the old saying goes, birds of a feather flock together, right? So they don't want to be around you, because you want to dance on the table, and you want to, as I said, take your clothes off. And that's another thing, because when people drink, what happens is that everything seems beautiful, and the music that we listen to, you tend to want to take it literally, because you get brave and you do things that you wouldn't normally do when you're not drinking or when you're not drunk. You do a lot of foolishness that you wouldn't do. And a lot of times people want to use alcohol because they think, which is just an illusion. Uh, they think that it makes them relax. It makes people turn into fools. That's what it makes people do, because I admit, when I look back at certain things, I know, uh, I would say it changed my personality completely. And I got brave. It's things that I would say that I would not normally say, and all those things like that. So the if y'all want to hear more topics like these, y'all know what to do. Just send me a comment and let me know. And please watch this. I hope that you could have watched it right through. I know that my topics are normally not 10 and 15-minute topics, because I just don't know how people is get topics like this done in 10 or 15 minutes. But I just feel that people need more information that is given. So please watch it straight through. And if you enjoy this content, you can you can just send me a like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell as well, so that you would know whenever I upload new videos. And just make sure that you share this with other people that you think that might be having a little problem with alcohol. Share it with your friends and even your frenemies. So I am going to be closing off this video now. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for watching. And remember, everywhere you go, you let your light shine and you continue to spread the love, because when we let our light shine and we raise our vibrations, it is going to make the whole world a better place to live. Because if a lot of us do that, you can see when the masses get together what they can do. So if a lot of us do that, we can just move mountains. So once again, my name is Annette, aka Annie, and this is Sweet Annie's Faith. And I hope that you could join me soon again next time. So I love you all, and have a great week until I see you again. Bye.